The story is bigger than me and my family. The challenge is bigger than us. That idea that farmers should live like this. You cannot just live on survival. All those dreams, also those hardships, wanted me to go back and do something for the community back in Afghanistan. So I started a cooperative in Afghanistan. Even that cooperative grew, and 10% of our company is owned by the cooperative. Every year we share back the profit with them. So 10% of the profit goes back to the farmers. What can you take with you? The universe or God sent me here just to be rich for me and my wife and my kids? I don't think it was the purpose. I think the purpose is more than that. The purpose is to touch more lives. What is holding me back? How can I facilitate? Maybe not for millions, but at least for one person. That one life can change. I think is a good positive thing in the universe. If I have this wisdom, if I have this feeling, it's for a reason.
Welcome to the FutureKind podcast, where conscious nourishment is our guide. From the cellular to the cosmic, we're exploring how our relationship with food has the power to transform the world. Mohammad Salehi, welcome to FutureKind.
Thank you, Megan Westgate. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm so looking forward to this conversation. You literally have maybe the most interesting life story that I've ever heard from a real person who I know. And I have been so inspired from your involvement with participating in our Food Integrity Collective and now our non-UPF program and our non-GMO program. So just appreciate your leadership in the industry, but I would love to start with talking about you as a person and the super interesting path that's gotten you here. So maybe you could start by telling us a bit about like where your life started and your journey into food.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you for having me. So I grew up in Afghanistan. I grew up in the western part of Afghanistan, in a city called Herat, which the province is also famous as Herat. The name is Herat. And in fact, all of my work is Heray, which is the ancient name of Herat. That's how I named my company after my...
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Heray Spice, named after Herat.
That is correct. I grew up in Afghanistan. Quite a tough farm boy life. We had our own farm. We still have our own farm. During the Soviet war, which the communism Soviet attacked Afghanistan back in 1970s and 80s, my father was in the government, not in the forces that fought against the Soviet Union in Afghanistan. So he had injuries during the war, and sadly we lost my father when I was 12. So as the oldest son of the family, automatically in a country like Afghanistan, you take responsibility of the family. So I was going to school, managing the farm, and sometimes even working in shops to, beside my mom to make sure we bring enough food for the entire family. And I have 5 other siblings. One of my sister is older than me. The others are young. So I grew up with this farming environment, and in the village that I grew up, which is not very far from the city, and I was coming to school in the city, but I was still in the farm village. As I grew up, I noticed all the struggles that my family and other family farmers in Afghanistan had. It was like always you would cultivate the crop, and near the harvest season, basically you would exchange it for the items you need, or you would sell your crops in the local market so you get other stuff that you need. It can be clothes, it can be oil or flour, whatever else you need, you would basically exchange your crop. It was a tough life, and I always was thinking, farming shouldn't be like this. We should be making money. We should just not be in the survival mode always. And that question always, as a child, when you see the struggles of your family and the entire village struggles you see, you're like, well, maybe there's a way we can do this better, or where everybody should make a better income or a fair income. Fast forward, I was 17 years old when I was like almost 17 or 18. I finished high school. That being said, I was going to high school in the night, and I was going to basically work and manage a farm during the day. So it was a really challenging life. And but one thing that I'm really grateful of my family, this idea that they always had before my father died, and even my mom still. It was always like, you have to finish education. We did not go to school. We could not afford it, but I love that you and your sisters, all of you, finished school. So it was like always in the center of life. Education was there. And so finished high school. During the high school, I got a scholarship to study in an academy. I was a very actually nerd or a smart guy in the school. So I got basically I got a scholarship to study English in a course in an academic center in Afghanistan for free, which was huge because honestly I couldn't afford to go to an academia, which they call it academia, where you can study second languages. And I could speak English by the time I graduated high school, enough that I could solve problems, not fluently. And I got a job when I was in high school back in 2010. I got a job with the U.S. Army in Afghanistan. So the Army back then and the U.S. Marines, they needed local linguists or local interpreters. And I got a job with the U.S. Army. I worked for the Army for 2 years, 1 year with the U.S. Marines. I worked another year for the NATO as a whole, Italian Army, Spanish Army. And my job was...
And this is while you were in high school?
Just finished high school. Like the last...
Just finished
high school. So I have this job. Basically, we were working a lot with the UNDP, United Nations Development Program. So a lot of the funds that would come from UNDP, then the U.S. Army would help the schools in Afghanistan, would school the farmers. And there was an initiative that how we can, we can replace poppy seeds, because that's the main root of a lot of opiums and drugs in that environment. And the idea of U.S. Army was how we can, instead of forcing people to cultivate something else, how can we replace that? And they were always looking for crops. Saffron was one of them, and it was a good, successful one. They also were funding other projects like hing or assa tafiada, they call it. It's another crop. I can't pronounce it very well. And they would basically get research and cash for work. They would persuade farmers to cultivate these crops instead of poppy seeds. And they were happening in the west, south of Afghanistan mostly. So those two regions I was working. And the other aspect was the USAID had mission to help children with UNICEF. Our team would basically, our convoy would bring supplies for the schools, for the villages. So a lot of those type of work, not very much in the war. It was more the development aspect of the U.S. Army that I worked. Although we had missions which were included fights and stuff, but mostly this was my job. And I did that job for 4 years. And then I applied for a visa to come to U.S. because my life was not safe anymore after 4 years of working with the Army. So I applied for a special immigration visa, they call it. I came to U.S. back in 2014.
Had something changed in Afghanistan that made it less safe, or just because you had been doing it for years?
I think in 2014, U.S. Army started to withdraw from Afghanistan. And also Taliban, for some weird reason, I think from 2001 that the U.S. Army and the NATO came to Afghanistan, invaded Afghanistan for bringing peace, stability, and democracy. Until 2010, it was the Afghanistan government with the U.S. government has a lot of force, a lot of power in the region. They could control the land and everything. But after 2010, to be honest with you, the previous government of Afghanistan started to be weakened. Like it really got it to, corruption had to do with it. There was a lot of disagreement with the U.S. Army and the American mission in Afghanistan. So a lot of inside disagreement caused the Taliban to use that gap, to use those gaps and become more powerful. So this was not safe for people as an American interpreter, because even the villagers and the people that knew us, they were like, well, you work with the army or you work with the American army. So it's like you're an invaders type of feeling you would get. Then, I applied, I came here in Chicago, and then I started back school because my mom was like, you have to finish school. So I studied computer science, which has nothing to do with what I do now. And I got my master's degree, continuing education until I got my master's or grad degree in cybersecurity management.
What got you interested in that? Because it is such a departure from, what you do now. I can really see the through line of like where you started and what you do now. And then that's such an interesting chapter,
Yeah,
cybersecurity.
I think to be quite frankly with you, poverty and the dream of having something quicker. Because I was thinking, I have a family back home. We didn't have a good house in Afghanistan, so first I had to build a house for my family. When I did the research when I was in first year of college, it was like if you study IT in the US or computer science, the chance of getting a job is faster compared to history or business or other degrees.
Oh, yeah.
So that really was the main purpose of like, it was not my, like IT was never my love, and it is not even now. But I studied to be basically a stepping stone toward my goals, to get a job faster, it happened. In my third year of college, I became an intern for a company in Chicago, and then I was started as a full-time, I was an engineering student in third year, but I was making a good money. I became a junior software engineer. So it really helped to get a job, to make enough income to support your family back home, yourself here in Chicago. That was one reason. And the second reason is my family. In Afghanistan, for some weird cultural reasons, we always want our kids to be doctor or engineer. I think it's an immigration type of philosophy, I should say. I'm not like that. Me and my wife, we talk about this a lot, and we are like, we let kids to decide for themselves. Because I studied something that it helped me a lot in life, but it really was a struggle mentally when I was going to work every day for 4 years in the corporate America. I didn't enjoy it. So yeah, then fast forward, started Heray Spice in 2017 with a small cash that I saved over years of working different jobs, multiple jobs. Then I saved that money. I went back home. That idea that farmers shouldn't live like this, we have to change the destiny of, you cannot just live on survival mode. Like, I have this crop, I'm going to sell it, I'm going to wait until next year. No saving, no good future for your children. All those dreams, all those also those hardships wanted me to go back and do something for the community back in Afghanistan, which we will talk more. That's why, yeah.
Were you holding that in mind the whole time you were doing cybersecurity? Like that's really what you wanted to be doing?
Exactly. And for a long time, I wanted to do something in cybersecurity. I wanted to start a company in Afghanistan and bring jobs over there. But the challenge was always internet and electricity. We don't have a very stable internet. We don't have a very stable internet or power in Afghanistan in terms of electricity. And the other problem was always the corruption and the government being in a gray mode. We are not like UAE or a country that the US recognize very well, or American companies trust to give their offshore customer service office in Afghanistan. It's not like India, it's not like China. So I did not have, and in life, there are things you can control and there are things that honestly, it's out of your control of the scope. And for me, I noticed that for me to start an IT company in Afghanistan, first of all, I didn't like it. Even if I could help the community, the environment is not set up yet. So it's not good. So I decided to do something that I love and something that I always struggle to solve it. And that's how I started a mission-driven company called Heray Spice.
Beautiful. So you went back to Afghanistan, and what were the origins of you setting up Heray Spice?
Perfect. So I always think in life, this story is bigger than me and my family. The challenge is bigger than us, like me, my family, my mom, my siblings. It's like how many other people you can reach, because there's a slang in Afghanistan. They say even a nut tree can give enough nuts for its own shadow. Like if you see a nut tree, it will drop. If it's berries or whatever, it will drop fruit under the shadow. So it means you're not even a tree. So if you're thinking about your own family and I can support myself, I have enough money, it's not enough, because a tree can do that for its leaf. I don't want that to be a bad thing. It's just culturally a slang. And that always was in my mind. How many more people I can reach? And how many more people I can help with my work? And also there's a Bible phrase, even though I'm not Christian or religious, and it says, if you find a way to help serve many, you will be helped on the way. It's something in that sort of line, and that always helps me. So I was looking for some saffron, and that is really accidental. It was, I think, 2017 in March. I was looking to make a tahdik. Tahdik is a very Persian rice, but also we cook in Afghanistan. So I was in Devon Avenue, which is a spice type of like street in Chicago, to buy saffron. I bought the saffron, brought home. I had a roommate back then. My wife was not here. And I wanted to cook a tahdik for the spring, which we do that all the time, culturally speaking. And when I opened it, was like, this is not saffron, because my family have been farming it since 2007. I was like, well, I grew up in a family farm. We have the saffron. This is so metallic. This is like tobacco almost. There has to be something in it. So I did some research back then, and I found out that there are some fake saffron in the market, and the real saffron is a gold, and it's not easily available. And I knew I have the real
What is the fake saffron made out of?
Corn silk, safflower. So there's a Chinese herb called safflower. And safflower, we have an entire blog on it on our website. It looks like saffron, but it's not saffron. It's so cheap. You can buy a pound of safflower for $20, whereas a pound of saffron is for a few grands. And the other one is the corn hair or corn silk. They dyed them with food coloring, and they cut them, and they look like saffron.
Wow.
So, and I went back that year. So that the story passed. I went back in Afghanistan, and I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I think there's a good market for our saffron in the US. That was back in September 2017. I brought some saffron with me from back home. It was the first time I went to Afghanistan after 3 years I was in the US. We came back, and we started sampling with the chefs in Chicago. So I would just knock restaurants. It was 6 ounces. So I would give just basically a fraction of an ounce for each chef. And all of them were astonished. The color, the smell, the quality. It was like, wow, Mohammed, we have been cooking for 20 years, and we never seen something like this. And then we started bringing 3 pounds of saffron, and that was still my family farm, my cousins. And then we reached, in 2019, we reached a point that we had like 88 or 90 restaurants buying from us every month, and we could not even sell enough. Our saffron was sold out. So I started a cooperative in Afghanistan, because I wanted to always know who I'm buying from, and where's my food coming from, what is the chemical components used in the food, are there any fertilizers that are bad for you, any pesticides. Like, those were the topics that I studied in school. I took few nutrition courses, and it was really something in my mind that I want to make sure I bring good food here as well as in Afghanistan. And then we started a cooperative, and that cooperative grew from my cousins and me and my mom to right now we have 186 members, and 10% of our company is owned by the cooperative. So we share profit back with the farmers who are, they're getting paid. Second, every year we share back the profit with them. So 10% of the profit goes back to the farmers. And that's something that I want to keep doing it, because I want them to be a stakeholder of this and be able to educate their children and be able to send their children to US or wherever they want. So that's what I do for Heray, and we will talk more about it.
Yeah, it's so impressive. 186 members of the cooperative. Can you share a little bit about the process of, like, you make it sound easy, but I know, I was on the board of our local food co-op here for 7 years in Bellingham, and just have always been interested in the cooperative business model, and just have some appreciation from that background of it's a hard, it's so valuable, and there's extra work that it takes to realize the values that come with, the benefits of being a cooperative. And I would love to hear more of just your commitment to that, and what it took, the process of getting from working with your family members, your extended family, all the way to having 186 members.
Yes. So as I grew always in, and these all came from personal experiences, and I share my experiences here that I probably never shared anywhere else. As I grew up, I always wanted, when we would sell our crop in the market to, as I mentioned, when I was a child, and we would have our own wheat or potato or corn, whatever we would cultivate that year. And the local traders would bargain so much with me and with my mom, and they were one-sided, this is the price, you have to accept it. And because we out of poverty and out of need, we had to sell it for whatever was available. So there was never a good heart to feel like, they just lost his father. They're poor. Why would I bargain so much? And that really was unfair. That was unkind. And for me, I decided that if I get rich, even if I don't get rich, whatever I have, I want to share with people. And because what can you take with you? I mean, life is, of course, we will live 80, 60, 90, whatever we live. It's so too short. I'm 32. It's like I just passed 32 days ago. So life is really fast and short. And the more you give, the better it is. And you get back from the universe. The reason I started cooperative was, how can we pay these farmers directly without the intervention of the warlords and the gunmen in this society? And how can each farmer has a stake on something bigger with a dignity? Because I think a lot of the funds, when I was in the army, that also changed my perspective. There were funds like just cash for poor people. And it was good. They would help them. But if you give a cash with no basically a result, with no mission, with no product or service involved, first of all, it's like you play with their dignity. A lot of people, they will accept it out of need, but also it's like, you basically, like, you have the upper hand. Yes, they need it, but what if they can do something good for themselves, for the society? Now you're not giving them as a donation, you're giving them as a service fee. And that service fee gives them a good hope, a good dreams. So with the cooperative, the way we work is, every year how much we need saffron in the US, what crops we need in the US, how many people we can actually touch. Because if I say we can have 1,000 cooperative members and we cannot talk with them, we cannot listen to them. I went all the way to Afghanistan to see these members, to talk to them, to see what the problems they have, what is happening with the drought. And if you would be like, oh, you just register your name. It's not like that. So we onboard them. They basically go through a system that we register their name. They are over there. And then every harvest season for the saffron specifically, we talk with them, we bring them, and we ask them, how many, what is the acres of land we cultivated saffron? What are the things you need from us? Because the food safety and food science is a huge issue in the US. A lot of the products coming in the US are not very well batched and well tested, and then there's salmonella and there's yeast and mold and all those stuff. So what can we do at that farm level? So they have a commitment for us that they have to listen for this turning. They have to attend the turning. It's mandatory before the harvest season. They have to basically the baskets that we give them for collecting the saffron, they have to accept. And then in March, when we go back and we share profit with them, we give them all their fair share. We buy the product. We do not bargain with them. And the other aspect of the cooperative is, which is a lot of challenging working with people, we never want to pay like, hey, bring me your product, we'll pay you in 6 months. However, we gave them an option. You want to sell it to us right now? Beautiful. If you want to keep it with us, it's not safe, because we do have a good office and warehouse in Afghanistan. You can still store it in our facility. So this way your saffron is not going to spoil, and you can sell it when you think it's more expensive and when you think it's a better market value. But this process of bringing saffron in, educating them on the good aspects of food safety specifically for us, regenerative farming, how can we help you with better water conservation? How can we help you with better crop nutrition? Because farmers have to change crops every 4 years for saffron. And what is a good crop? We do the research. We'll tell you, this year we think this will sell very good next year. So And bringing this many people into the office and talk to them and have them registered and listen to them, it's very challenging. It's a very laborious job, which in return, we can actually buy saffron from local market and should not work with them. And it makes sense economically, but it doesn't make sense from a sense of community, from a sense of kindness. So it's the process is, so we basically onboard the farmers. They stay with us for as many years as they want. Basically, they have to sell their crop for us, and we will never bargain with you. Whatever the market value is, we pay you more than that. But in our condition, we have one condition. You cannot process these flowers at your home. We have to have visibility. You have to do it because we have a specific designated location in each village that you have to bring the crop over there. We will buy you from there, or you have to sun-dry it there, because we noticed a lot of the pathogens and the microbes is happening in the food when in the last inch of the harvest. If the environment is not clean, You work the entire year. Your product may not pass the food safety and food quality assurance certificates. So for us, the only condition we have is the harvest. When you do the harvest, if you're in our cooperative, you will buy your product, but you have to dry it in a way that we tell you to do. We have to have an observation in our people has to see that where do you sun dry them? Is it on a cloth that you had it and it's a dirty cloth? We are not going to allow you. It has to pass. Like, we will give you all the cloth, we will give you all the gloves, anything you need. But you have to make sure that we have visibility on your harvest process, because we don't want any microbes and pathogens to get into the saffron or the crops that we buy from you.
Has that been difficult to get buy-in to do that? It sounds like a big effort with all those people.
It's a huge effort, because imagine a farmer, and a lot of this, the saffron is specifically that 90% of our company is based on saffron, and the rest is 10%. It's hand harvested for a farmer and for entire his family, because now in Afghanistan, we do not hire child labor. But if a farmer and his son, like me, I was 10 years old, I was farming with my family. You cannot tell a family to, hey, do not let your child to touch or work for you. It's your family farm. It's entire family is working. For us to make sure they wash their hands before they touch these beautiful flowers, or even if they touch the threads, it's a huge challenge. And specifically during the harvest season, everybody is so busy, and they want to dry in anywhere they can dry. They want to take the crop anywhere they want to take. And for us, it's a huge risk, because if we bring it to US, and we work with a lot of pharmaceutical industry and nutraceutical industry, if the saffron is rejected due to quality assurance, due to salmonella, yeast, mold, it's not a good business. We can't keep going. It is a challenge. It's a very big challenge. And for a farmer who barely, like, they just want to do everything, you tell them, hey, you have to add this food safety in mind. It's not easy. For us, that's our main tough thing, to implement these process, these precautious process to make sure saffron is not contaminated. It's not easy, but we kind of like became successful. We also add some extra layers, like we do a lightening, which is basically it's a UV light that kills some bacteria. We were successful with that, and we do sometimes heat treat it, which kills, if there's any pathogens, it kills them. But the best way is to make sure it's not contaminated in the first hand before you treat them with any other work and later on.
Yeah, it's interesting from a certification perspective. It's a little bit of a different angle, but just that there can be resistance from farmers. There's, I think, a lot of sovereignty in farmers of like they know how to do what they're doing, growing things on the land, and adding in extra paperwork like through certification or extra food safety steps. I think there's something about the like independent personality of a farmer that sounds like, regardless of where in the world, that it's a particular challenge to add those things in, but also from a food integrity perspective, like that is needed. So yeah, appreciate the efforts that you're putting into that. And I'm curious, so I know that you were back in Afghanistan last fall. So, but you said you left because it wasn't safe. So what is that process like for you now? Is it safe to be there? And how often do you go back?
It's not safe, to be honest with you. Since Taliban took over, because in one angle, if you look at it, we work directly with Afghanistan farmers, and we never got a project from even USAID or the Taliban government or the US government. I was always wanted to work with USAID as a company or as a social enterprise, but we never got a project. And when you work as an independent company in Afghanistan, not only you have, first of all, as a founder, Taliban doesn't probably like me as much with my background working with the US Army. Even if they like me, we have a lot of local competition in the region, in Herat, because not a lot of companies are doing the work we do, and we got very good recognition by it. You probably saw the article yesterday on Wall Street Journal that they featured our story and our work. So I always wanted to go back. I was there right before the government fall back in 2021. I was in July, I was in Afghanistan, and most of my visits are in the farm. I always have, and at some point, if I get rich enough in the US, I want to have my own big farm and cultivate saffron here. But right now it's not feasible. So I want to go back to the farms. And I tried to go in 2022. All of my friends said no. I called my friends in New York and my families, and I was thinking, no, it's not safe for you. 2023 happened, the same. And 2024, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take the risk. And here's what I did, Megan. I published before I go that I'm going to Afghanistan. I posted, like usually when I would go, even before Taliban era, I would keep it so secret. Like I would go and come back, and the farmers knew, only few farmers, not even all of them. And only my team would know. But this time I made it public. I said, you know what, I'm going, and let me for once to not be scared. So with all my background, it was really risky. It was a reckless decision. I decided to go for the harvest season. I went in November 2024. I came back on December 6th. And I think I was there when I was interviewed for the Board of Land GMO project. And it was scary because I could see some of the Taliban and the people and the local villagers, how they would look at me, came from US. Probably Taliban knew why I was there, but what was my background. But no one bothered me, to be honest with you. I went to the farms. I saw the people. I saw the struggles that still the society have in Afghanistan, all the hardship that the farmers have. Despite the work that we do, it's not enough. I mean, we do our part, but as a whole, it's so injustice in the spice industry, not only in Afghanistan. We are a fair trade company, so we pay more than 2-3 times more than the average local market to make sure that the principle of fair trade, which they can live a fair life, is happening. However, Megan, the cost of living in those countries, the inflation, a lot of non-for-profits in Afghanistan from the US pulled out after the 2021. Afghanistan is not recognized. The Taliban is right now recognized as a country in the international world. So much, and Afghanistan dependent on foreign aids for years, for 40 years. And all of a sudden, that dropped like by 90%. So you can see the poverty. You feel sad when you go. And that's why it basically pushes us every day that we have to, as much as we can, we have to find new customers. We have to send more money back home. We have to bring more farmers into our cooperative. But we, like last year, we brought 81 or 82 farmers in our cooperative. But we also make sure we have customers here before we can onboard more. So it's tough life, to be honest. When I went and I observed, but it was worth it. It was a good time for me. Despite all the challenges, it was worth it to go back.
It was very striking to me. Yeah, thank you for being on the Non-GMO Project Board of Directors. And I remember that call in November where that was your first time meeting the rest of the board. And you were saying something about gender equality, and you paused and you shared with us, I know it's safe to say this right now because I made sure no one is upstairs in this building. And it just really was striking to me of it's one thing to know theoretically that, in certain places in the world, there's just things that are dangerous to say that we take for granted talking about here. But to just see you in that experience. I think you were talking about just creating jobs for women outside of the home through your company. Do you want to share some about that now that you're
sure.
in Chicago, where still so far it's safe to talk about in this country?
Yes. That's a beautiful thing about this country. I love this country so much because of all the freedom we have here. A big aspect of our company from the beginning was my mom was a widowed person. She never got married after my father died, and she was raising 6 children. And all of us right now, thanks God, and so much credit and tribute to her. My sister is a midwife doctor. My brother is studying computers, actually medical school. Another one is studying computer science, about to graduate. My sister is studying computer science. So all of us are either a doctor or engineer, that type of... I don't practice anymore engineering, so I'm more of I don't know what I'm doing, but I do more community work. But my big aspect was women are very, very empowered, very, very smart. We have to empower them as much as we can. And it's not something that, that's why I believe in it, because I see my mom. She by herself raised 6 children without any of, thanks God, knock on the wood, any of us going to jail, any of us going to the bad ways, always straight. And if we give credit, credit goes to her. I believe even if my dad was alive, he would not do this better. So if I see this smartness, this leadership in a family through my mom, it can be true for many or more, most all of the other women, for every other woman. So how can we help them? Because we have in Afghanistan, we have women who lost their husbands in the war, who lost their brothers. In the last 20 or 40 years of war, everybody lost someone. Almost from each family that you talk to, you see someone lost someone in the Soviet war against the Soviet Union. Someone lost during the last years of so many wars with the Taliban and the inter-conflicts of Afghanistan. From the first day, and also women are very smart and detail-oriented with the saffron. It's a crop that should be hand-harvested, and once you bring the flowers into your warehouse, women are doing a much better job than men in sorting the saffron, making sure they are packaged properly, the threads are out properly, the waste flowers goes to waste, the threads goes to package very well. And this was our workforce from 2017 until 2021, actually, 2022. Taliban stopped women coming to warehouses in 2022. They were like, no, women cannot work out of the houses. They closed secondary education after 6th grade for girls. And us as a company, we donate 5% of our income to a non-for-profit called Code to Inspire. Code to Inspire is a non-for-profit based in New York, but also they have offices in Afghanistan. They specifically empower girls and women of Afghanistan. So they educate them online coding, online web design and graphic design. And we donate 5%. You can see us on their partner page. And when I went there, so in 2022, 2023, it was a sad life because women could not come to our warehouse. So basically, you could distribute flowers, which we did. They could distribute flowers to women in their houses. They could make sure it's clean process. They would give back in the threads. But it was not an efficient way. It was tough to distribute these flowers in every 45 houses. In the evening, bring them back, make sure they are not spoiled, they are still clean. We wanted to have a good environment. So in Afghanistan right now, human rights as a whole is a crisis, but women's rights specifically is a next level crisis. When you not allow the 50+ % of the community to work outside their home, it's unimaginable, Megan. Sometimes I cry, and it's like so sad. It's a shame actually for that government that is in Afghanistan and for humanity as a whole. So these women cannot go to work outside. Girls cannot go to school after after 6th grade. And us, our entire work is not only we believe in that, is dependent on women. Our donation goes to women. Our entire harvest season is happening by a family farm that has a wife, that has a sister, that has a daughter. And then we hire women, local women in Afghanistan. So 2024, when I went, and I should say gladly, that year they allowed women to come work in warehouses. So 2024 harvest season, we had women back to warehouse. They had some specific Sharia law for us, like no men is allowed in the warehouse, which is another challenge because we need men to buy flowers from other men and from the farmers to give to the women to process them in the warehouse. And also there should be a woman supervisor, which we had one. So there was like a written thing, but we already had it. And the challenge that I saw, you could not talk about these. Like it was so not logical, and it was so unimaginable. And if you were like to say, well, why is this like this? The chances are you are going to jail. And they control people. And they created this environment that you cannot even trust your team anymore because you're like, well, who am I talking to? Is he a spy? And if you see the data in North Korea, Iran, Afghanistan, most of these countries that are really, really closed, they are very good in one thing, which is a bad thing, but they're very good at it. And it's the spy, it's the intelligence that they have within the community, from bottom all the way to the top. So when I had the interview with you, I wanted to talk about gender equality and the sadness that we have in Afghanistan. But I was like, well, Megan, because we had that night, we had some guests and we had some other people in our home. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable right now talking because it was sad. If I would say these and if I would get arrested, it was a big chance. And that was the story that day that I wanted to share with you.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing it now. Do you think you'll go back again soon? Like, what are your plans after that experience last fall?
I will not go this year, but it's never, I cannot say never I will not go. So I may go 2026 or 2027. I still have families there, my siblings, my cousins, everybody's there. My mom was here, she just went back to Afghanistan. But I hope as we go, we increase our fund for the CTI, Code to Inspire. So we increase the donation this year a little bit more. And also we work with one school inside Afghanistan. It's an academic center, which we donated 20 scholarship for girls specifically this year. And unfortunately, or fortunately, they are all girls below 6th grade, so below age of 12 or 13, I should say. That's what the local Sharia law allows in Afghanistan right now. I want to go back, but at the moment, at least one problem we don't have, and that's we can legally, based on Afghanistan law, we can bring women back in our facility and they can work. And as I'm talking with you right now, we are 6. Today I was talking on the phone because we have a new shipment coming, and we have 6 women in the last 10, 20 days that they have been working on this shipment. So this is all the work of women that are producing, yes. I may go back, yes.
So in the meantime, you obviously have people on the ground there coordinating with all your co-op member owners, the farmers. Are you like on the phone with them every day, or how do you organize all of that without being able to be on the ground there? Because you've described, it is very intensive. Everything you've highlighted that, like how much relational work there is, and it must be hard to do from afar.
It's so much hard. But one thing I learned, I cannot do everything by myself. And until I learned that, it was a little bit late, but I think it was still soon. In life, you will understand that life only gets stressful like when there are things that should be done and you think you should be the only one doing them. And that gets a lot of stress bring to your life. Now I have a team in Afghanistan. We have 4 people full-time, 1 part-time person, like in the office pretty much every day. And 2 of them are specifically in charge of farmers. So they go to the farms, they buy the crops, they bring them, they give them all these burlap, big bags to make sure that they have all of them are good. And right now, as we're talking, we are during the harvest of our mint leaves in 3 farms. And my entire team is right now focused on the mint because we have few customers in New York for the tea and herbal companies who are using our mint. So I still love to talk with farmers. There are few numbers that I always talk to them. Probably 10, 12 of them I call at least once a week or twice a week. And those are people that have been with us since 2018. It's a cooperative. We have members, but some members prefer to sell their products somewhere else, or they have their own shop, or they have their own company and their son opens a company. We cannot force them to stay, but people that are with our cooperative, we pay them on time, we pay them more than the average local market, and we expect a good product in return. And so I have a team to manage that, but I still keep my connection with at least 10, 20 farmers that were from the beginning. But with 186, all of them has my phone number. They don't call, and I can't call everyone, unfortunately, because of business here, we have employees, we have a team here. So for 2 meetings a year we attend. One is in March, which we do our financial year. We ends in February, so we do meet with all of them or most of them. I'm there in person, if I'm here with Zoom or Google Meet mostly. And the second meeting is before the harvest season. That's when I lay down the actual numbers, and I'm like, this is the expectation we have. This is the expectation we have from you in terms of you must wear gloves, you must sell your crops to the warehouse. You cannot basically do whatever you want to do and bring the product at the warehouse, because the problem is the contamination. And our customers, it's because we had that issue. We were like so not strict, and we would buy flowers however it is. And then we brought in New York, and the customer did a COA on them, certificate of analysis. It found salmonella. So now we cancel the product. We have to send it back to Afghanistan. And it doesn't make sense to send it back because what else they will do with it? So it has to go to waste. With saffron, it's a huge cost. So it's a lot of challenges, Megan. The business world has so much stress here, there, but I think we have to manage it with a team, and we are doing that right now.
Well, I feel like, in the vein of FutureKind and how we become the humans the future needs and how we evolve the food system in the way that the future needs, the cooperative model has so much promise in that context. And, and as you've highlighted, it takes a lot of extra effort, and it's like even more so when it's across seas and it's not safe for you to be there. And I just have so much admiration for your depth of commitment to keep working in that way. And I mean, I can see I can see from what you've described of your upbringing and life experience, like some of where that's come from. And I'm curious, like, if there's anything else you can share of like, where do you source your will to keep putting in this effort to, like, you have such a big heart. Every time I interact with you, I just can feel that. Like, I mean, maybe it's just your personality, how you were born, but I'm just curious because for me, that like full heart that you bring to the way that you're working that allows you to put all this effort and, not go the easier route is a huge part of that question of being the humans that the future needs. And I'm just curious if you have any insights about like, how do you do that? And like, what are your practices or the things that you're holding in mind that help you show up to your life and your work in that way that you do?
I believe, Megan, we're all connected somehow. And someone, we call it Allah, or for some people, God, or the universe, whatever people call it. He listens and he sees that if we are doing good for the people, culturally speaking or Islamically speaking, there is a verse that says, the best of you are the ones that bring the most service to others, which goes very hand to hand to Christianity as well. I don't think, but that's the main source of my inspiration. My source of inspiration is always, the story is more than me. It's not about Muhammad. The story is about the mankind, the great people who changed the destiny of the world for us, who created electricity, who created the machineries that we have. Their heart was not about themselves and their own family. Their heart was about the society as a whole to flourish and to nourish. That is the inspiration. If I can, I am a person that I can be a source of help for others. And sometimes people did not have the equal opportunity, and that really is sad because some people say, life is this, and you have to get up every morning, you can make it. Yes, but imagine a child as a girl, a baby girl, is born in Afghanistan. How is it she can make a life compared to someone born in California? And this is not the same. They are, as much as we want to have hopes and dreams, the chances of she make it to the top versus, not that anything against the baby girl in California, that's not my goal. And the baby boy or baby girl being born in the US or in Chicago, the environment has to do with it. It's not only your decision, but also it's the environment. And we, or myself as a person being in this country, did the universe or God sent me here just to be rich for me and my wife and my kids? I don't think it was the purpose. I think the purpose is more than that. The purpose is to touch more lives in Afghanistan or even in India and Sri Lanka, make sure these farmers are get paid, make sure that their struggle is not to survive because of the environment and the unfairness in the trade world. And their children should have the chance. Of course, they may not have the chance that my child has in Chicago, but they should have the chance to go to school and study what they want to study and even travel to the world and travel to US or China and get some knowledge. So I think if I have this wisdom, if I have this feeling, it's for a reason. You don't see a baby cow saying, I want to be the next president of Harvard. Because that's not the dream of a baby cow. But if I, as a human, think I can be the next president of Harvard University, it means God gave something in me that I can feel that. And if I can feel about the people in Afghanistan and the farmers and the baby girls or the school girls that can't continue education, it's not why I should have that feeling. If I have that feeling, there has to be a power that I have. What is holding me back? How can I facilitate? Maybe not for millions, but at least for one person, that one life can change, I think is a good positive thing in the universe. And also, I think another personal level is when you're the oldest son, I think that shaped also my mentality. When you're the oldest son of the family and you're young at 12 years old and you're looking at your siblings and your mom is getting old and sick and your siblings are looking at you, who else is there to help? There's no one else. Father died. It's now you. And what can you do? You have to put your life at risk. Me at age of 18 working for the American forces in Afghanistan was a huge risk. I was living in a village the majority of the village, I can say, they don't like me for that reason. But if I don't, should I be scared of the villagers when my sister and brother may go to famine or may not have enough nutrition or food on their table? Which one should I choose? So I choose the risk. I choose the bravery. And now it's like, well, my father and my mom, so my father died, my mom and my siblings and my wife, we all have enough to eat, we all have a house to live. So what? Is that the mission? What about 35 other million people in Afghanistan or 100 million in Sri Lanka and India, farmers who can't afford to live, like a good living, a good fair life? These questions came to my mind, and I can't stop thinking about them. And it's like I have to do something, and sometimes it's stressful. Sometimes even it touches your personal life. And I'm telling you personally, when you think so much about others, sometimes you have less time for your own kid, for your own wife. But for some reason, this gives me more happiness than just only focusing on my own child. Honestly, when I can give to someone else, and when I can see a smile that the stranger that I don't know in Afghanistan, that, to be honest with you, that gives me more happiness than my child having the best iPad or the best clothes. I don't know why. So that's people are different. I think that's my difference.
Well, I think that's beautiful. The difference between a smile and joy about consumerism, that makes sense to me. And I find everything you just shared so inspiring. And I am hearing themes of, just your orientation to interdependence. It's like you're saying you can't kind of unsee that. You're experiencing and describing the truth of how everything is nested and connected. And once you understand that, you can't unsee that. And the other piece of that is then like, what does it look like to take responsibility in relation to all of that? And like just what you've described of the courage that you've brought to that. And I'm just sort of reflecting some of the themes that I've heard, because again, I think you're just incredibly inspiring of the things that you've overcome, the challenges that you've risen to. And for all of us, as we consider in this time where there are so many threats to the well-being of life on Earth, for humans and our human communities and the more than human community of life, that I really have so much respect and admiration for the way you embody these qualities of FutureKind, of seeing that everything is connected, that there are opportunities for us to take responsibility, and like what you were describing of seeing the potential that's there. It's a really unique, special capacity among species that humans have, are the capacity to consciously envision other potential futures and work toward them. And I think that, it's something I talk with my kids a lot about. They're getting old enough now, 8 and 11, that we can have more philosophical conversations like this. And I'm always like, it's the biggest superpower that we have as humans, and a lot of people forget about it and are asleep to it. And that's that superpower being like the potential to see something that doesn't exist and to step up to it and work hard for it. And again, I just so appreciate all the ways that you embody that. And I feel really inspired. I'm sure listeners will also. And yeah, I'm really grateful to you for being here today and for all the ways that you're participating with all of our food integrity work. So much gratitude. Thank you, Mohammad.
I'm honored. Thank you so much for having me, Megan. It was an honor to sit with you and talk about these. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on FutureKind. Remember, every choice we make ripples through the web of life. Until next time, stay curious, stay conscious, and keep making choices that nourish FutureKind. FutureKind is brought to you by the Non-GMO Project and the Food Integrity Collective. New episodes emerge with each new moon. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform and share your FutureKind moments with us on social media using #FutureKind. Music by Yaima, Masaru Higasa, and Pepper Proud. Rise Ceremonia 6.